Hello, welcome everyone to our monthly community office hours for the package stage. This is a special month because we're also having a GitLab hackathon today and tomorrow where you can contribute for prizes as well as work with other people. So yeah, today we just wanted to open it up. We shared an issue, I could put this in the chat, but we have a link to our office hours and there's a bunch of issues that are options for potential community contributions. And we also wanted to just open up to any questions that people may have. I'm trying to talk less in these and trying to make it more about the community and the developers speaking. But I'm happy to ramble on if about random things people want.
Yeah, it looked like there were also like 3 or 4 issues that Steve, that you could probably address. Like, if you want to give a high-level overview of what some of these issues are, I think that would be good as well. But,
yeah, I could start there, and yeah. I'll share my screen. I think that'll be easier. Oops. Okay. So I put in about 15 issues here, and they're all there are some consistent themes. So one thing that we're looking to do is a limitation that we have is some of the different package manager formats only work at you have to scope the packages to a specific level. For instance, for NuGet, you have to use the project level, so you have to scope all of your project names to the project level. We were recently working on expanding this for our Conan repository, so I thought that it might be helpful if people had questions about how to do this, they could ask Steve, who recently did that work. And there's a bunch of issues here, like pull NuGet packages at the instance level, NPM at the project level, group and subgroup support for NuGet. And then there's another one down here too, I think. There's another one for allowing users to publish, install images using their namespace. This is something that GitHub's container registry does that I think is really interesting. You don't have to publish to a project or a group. You could actually publish to for me, it would be T-Rizzy, or you could also publish it to your namespace. So if you were at company Acme, you could do that as well. Then there's a couple of other issues here. This is a bug where images are not being properly deleted from the container registry UI. This is a pretty popular issue where, and I believe that we have a cause identified in it, so it's a good option for working through some issues. This one actually, Steve, I think we should remove this package versions rendering results in N2 queries. I think you're working on this now actually, so let's remove that one. And then we have some other package manager stuff like the PyPI supporting searching by name, ensuring that when you publish a new package version that we add that to the activity feed and project notifications. It's a nice UI improvement or UX improvement. We have some of the package name validation improvements for each format. So how do we validate that the name is correct and doesn't cause any issues? If you're interested in C or in Conan, there's an issue with the user interface where we aren't showing that it was built with a pipeline, even if it was. So if you're interested in C and C++, that'd be a good project. And then there's an issue here with NuGet packages that fail to upload when they have an extended version. So right now you could publish a NuGet package that has a version 1.0.0, but if you had 1.0.0.1, it would fail. So that's an opportunity to work with regex and naming restrictions that we have. So that could be another fun opportunity. So those are the issues that I included. Is any questions about any of those? Stop sharing my screen.
There's also a few issues on the container registry that have that good for new contributors, I think is the label. Those are all fine for the hackathon. They're not all completely written up and factored out in a way that you can just sort of like, hit the ground running, but they're relatively simple.
I'm just going to share my screen and show how that people can arrive at that. So if I go to the GitLab org project and go to issues, I could search for label. And then we'll look for the container registry. Yeah, and there's 5 issues. Haley, do you think any of these are worth calling out or mentioning? Do you want to talk about any of these?
Yeah, these might also be listed on the issue that I pasted just now as well. I think Haley, you may have like pinged me on that on the issue, so but let me know if I missed.
I did.
Yeah.
So that storage driver parsing could be simplified and centralized. I think that's the most meaty one. It's just a bit of cleanup, and it's not that difficult to prove that it's correct, and you don't really need to know all of the ins and outs of the way that the Docker container registry works. So I think it's a good entry point.
Cool. Any other ones worth calling out?
Yeah, it's just there's a couple ones that are just in documentation. We have a rounding issue, which would be relatively easy to fix, and it would be a good introduction to the garbage collector with the file system, working with that and seeing what kind of things are going on there.
Cool. Steve, one thing we were talking about, considering we have all the issues for adding project level or group level or something to a format, I was wondering if you'd be interested in walking through how you did that for Conan recently.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's make sure I share the right one here. All right. So, and what we're talking about here is if you look, we've got a development page for working on package managers in the contributor docs. And what we're talking about is the section that's labeled remote hierarchy, which is very complicated name, but pretty much what it's saying that is that when you set your remote for a given package type like npm, sometimes you're setting it with a project ID directly in the remote. Sometimes it's just gitlab.com/Conan, and sometimes there's even a group setting. And so what this causes is when you're working at, say, the instance level, so when it's just gitlab.com/npm or gitlab.com/Conan, on a website like gitlab.com, we need some way to identify, who owns this package, what project does it belong to. And so that's kind of where we run into all these naming restrictions that we have on many of our package types. But if you're scoped down to the project level and you have the project ID within the path, then we can just verify, we already know what project it belongs to. We can verify, permissions and all of that sort of stuff just by looking at it. So it's really beneficial to fill in this table and add project level scoping to anything that's missing it. So I'm finishing up the Conan scope right now, and really the only other one that needs project level scoping is NPM. But as you can see, there's a lot that don't have group level access or instance level access, which can be really helpful when you're working within a given group and you need to access a whole bunch of different packages across different projects. That's where the group level can come in very handy. And then same on the instance level. So if you're working, maybe on the entire a self-managed instance and you just want to see all of your packages, that's where something like that can come in very helpful. So what I did was I took a look at sort of how Conan is set up And let me actually pull my code over. And so if we look at the Conan API here, we have all of these different routes that are, packages Conan, the ping route, we've got the search route, we have the authentication route. And so they're all within this same namespace of just packages Conan v1. There's nothing about projects or anything. So what I wanted to do was take all of these endpoints, and in addition to having them in this namespace, also have them in a different namespace that's scoped to projects. And really, my initial thought was the actual endpoints, there's nothing in them that should really have to change other than they sort of prefix to the URL and sort of checking how the authentication works. So what I was able to do was identify a way to extract those routes into a shared section. So what I did was I was able to extend active support concern and turn everything into a single concern rather than having it as its own API instance. And then this Conan package endpoints, I could then share with different namespaces. So I've got the existing namespace, which was packages Conan P1, and I just include the package endpoints. And then I go over to the project level. And so here I have my project resources with the project ID, and then right inside I can include the package endpoints. And now I've got two entire sets of endpoints that really have the same functionality but different scoping. And then from there, it's just a matter of refactoring tests and some other things that can add up quickly. But in terms of opening up those different levels, there is a nice, easy way to do it using these concerns. Trying to think if there's anything else I had to talk about with that. There is one aspect to pay attention to. Some of these deal with workhorse routes. I don't think you'd run into this unless you were working at the project level with uploads. But if anything's doing uploading through workhorse, which you would see by, if you're looking at the endpoints, you'll see things like workhorse named within the actual endpoints. Then you would need a secondary merge request in the workhorse project to add a special route saying, hey, it's okay to upload packages or package files through this route. However, there's lots of examples of how that works. And as you can see, to add it for Conan, it's really just 2 lines that are kind of copy and pasted for the most part, similar to Maven and what NuGet already has as well. So that's one thing you might have to pay attention to if you decide to work on one of these things. Is there any questions about the package scoping or anything with those types of features?
So I noticed that I think Maven has just a single file that has all of the, or has a single endpoint class that has all of the different namespaces in it. Whereas for your changes with Conan, you've created 2 separate classes for the project and instance level endpoints. Is there a particular motivation for that or guidelines on when to do that?
So there's not really a specific rule or anything set. What ended up happening is Conan has a lot of endpoints. I think there's 14, and all of them have to be called behind the project ID in order for them to work. So when you set your remote on Conan, it will prefix every single call it makes with that remote URL. Whereas with Maven, in order to upload a package, you need the project ID. But for downloading packages, the way that the Maven, I forget what the name of the file is, the POM XML, I think, is set up. You can set the different repositories for different dependencies. And so not every single request that Maven makes is going to use the same remote no matter what. It just depends on your configuration. And so that's where we didn't need to set up every single endpoint with the project ID, and we didn't need to duplicate everything. And that's kind of why that's all in one file versus Conan. We had to duplicate everything, so it made more sense to split it. And that's definitely something to pay attention to in working on these, is whether or not we need to have every single endpoint be accessible from every single prefix. And I was going to point out, for anyone that's looking for, because those are like sort of big, like they would be a really challenging but fun problem to work on during a hackathon. But if you're looking for just some first-time contributions, or you just really want to kind of like get your fingers into the code base a little bit, I think one of the ones that Tim pointed out, talking about how the Conan packages that are built with CI, built within a pipeline, they never actually show up as being said that they're built in a pipeline. That's actually true for a few other package types too. I think Maven and NPM are the only ones that show pipeline info. I might be wrong on that. But if you look at this Conan issue, I left a few notes in here about where this kind of lives in Maven. And if we look at Maven, it's really kind of straightforward. All we really have to do is find where the package is being created. So here we have a specific create service for Maven packages. And it's just a matter of adding one line. So we just need to create the build info for this package. If there is a build that's currently being used. And so something like this line is probably all that really needs to be added to each of these different services. So like somewhere there's a Conan create package service, and it would just be a matter of adding this line, possibly having to update the API endpoint that calls the create service to add the build parameter. But that's really about all that needs to be done. And then of course, writing a few tests to prove that it works as expected. But that would be a really nice first contribution, or if you're just trying to get into the package code for the first time and explore around, that would be an easy way to do it. And I think Conan, NuGet, PyPI, those could all benefit from having that added.
Would an MR or should an MR to do that also introduce a migration or something to try to locate existing data that should be linked?
I think that might have come up when it was originally implemented, but the information is not there historically. So unless it was linked at the time of the package creation, there's no way to look back historically and find pipelines that created a specific package. I might not be completely correct there, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the problems we ran into, was that there was no way to sort of backfill that historic content.
Thanks for that overview, Steve. That was really helpful.
Sure.
Ray, anything to add? Or?
No, I was about to ask, Ethan and Jochen, I think both of you have MRs in flight or in progress. Just wanted to see if you guys have any comments or questions. But Jochen, do you want to, I'm not quite sure if do you want to verbalize your comment there? Hey there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have at the moment no merge requests going, so they're all merged at the moment. But I try to keep on trying to improve the composer packages. So the next step for me would be like to add or replace the manually published package info. So we get the notice that, yeah, the package is actually published through a pipeline. So that was perfect, like, introduction to this. So I think I can do this next week for Composer. So that's the plan.
And you also added a CI template, which was also really helpful for a composer as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was really useful.
So in the last merge request was about adding proper example commands for Composer to add the registry and the packages. So that got merged, I think, 2 days ago. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that hits on another really valuable contribution that we can always use is like examples of CI templates, because I mean we're building these package managers, but you know, as you see, we're Ruby developers, and as much as I want to be an expert in C++ or Go or PHP, I can only learn so much and figure out so much to be able to work with CI. So like any sort of those types of templates and additions to the docs are awesome.
I had a meeting at 10 with Steve and David about the modifications to the authentication system, so that's progressing. And I have 4 other MRs related to Go open, but those have not been seen any activity for a number of weeks.
Are those waiting for our review, or?
Generally, yes. Some of them have some build issues that, though some of that is due to, in one case, I'm waiting for Gitly changes to percolate through the system, I think.
Okay.
And there's, I could rebase some of them, but there haven't been any comments from the team in a while.
Should we follow up? Should we go through that list now and talk through each one? Might be worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is the link that Ethan just shared, and it sounded like this was the conversation that was going on this morning with Steve and David. So where did we end up in that conversation for this?
I have some changes I need to make, and I'll make those, and then I'll ping David. So that's on my plate.
Okay, and it's moving right now. What about this one, that implement a link between packages and source projects?
That one, I don't think it's moved in a while. I don't particularly remember what's going on with it.
My computer's very slow. Okay.
So, Gigi, not sure how to pronounce his name, made some comments a while ago that I've responded to, and then occasionally I've had to rebase that to get it to be mergeable. But waiting for a review.
The delegate Go proxy archive generation.
So that one won't build right now, or at least the last time I poked at it, because I made some, that's actually something I'm curious about. I mean, I do need there's things to be reviewed, but also I merged some changes into Gitly. I'm seeing a bunch of CI failures because now the updated code is using parameters for the Gitly gRPC that are new, and the definitions haven't registered. I tried updating the gem file, and I updated the Gitly server version. At least I thought I did. Apparently I didn't. And the gem file lock. So I'm not sure how to get the CI to pass on that. It does pass locally, because locally I'm using a recent version of the Gitly gem, but I'm not sure how to get CI to pass on that.
Okay. I could follow up on this one with the Gitly team.
I've just been, for the moment, kind of waiting and assuming that eventually the Gitly definitions will end up where they need to be.
Okay.
I don't really know how that works.
Okay. Steve, do you have any suggestion on this other than, should I just follow up with the Gitly team?
Probably, yeah. I'm not as familiar with that one, so I'm not quite sure about the changes with Gitly. But yeah, that's probably the best avenue.
So a few weeks ago, Stan pinged the Gitly team, and they released a new pre-release version of the gem that has the definitions in it. So there is a gem published that has the new definitions from my merge changes, but it's that those updates have not made it into the main application or something.
Okay. Okay, I could check with Stan too. That would be, I could follow up on that. I'll take a note. Okay, and then share my screen again. A couple more. So then there's the two Go proxy ones. The add Go proxy tag to go get response. This looks like it's passing pipelines and everything.
Yeah, GG a while ago added the run as if FOSS, and that was I think that was the last update for the most part.
Okay, so GG can follow up on this one too. Him.
Yeah, when there was a period where Steve and David were both on vacation, well, on leave, and so everything got assigned to GG because he was the one that was available.
And I can ping him this afternoon. Maybe he's just, because if that's the case, he might have gotten a little overloaded. So I can see if we need to just redelegate a few of these to myself and David too.
Okay, and then finally the Go packages as a cache for the Go proxy. And
so this is one that originally there was a different MR that I marked draft because it got messy, and David was working on that one, and then I separated out part of it to be a smaller change set, and then that was while David was on vacation, so it got picked up by GG. And yeah, that just needs review.
okay. I think that was, I mean, that's a lot of work. Thank you, Ethan, for your patience and understanding. We've been, like you mentioned, we had a few people out on leave, so I think we could hopefully pick these back up and get these pushed through. Cool.
Well, that's part of the reason why we do these calls, make sure that everything's sort of progressing. But
yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Carlos, we haven't heard anything from you. Would you like to say hello or add anything? Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay for me. I'm just following the meeting. because
thanks.
I'm really interested about the package manager and proxy and everything.
Cool. Any questions or?
No, actually, I just posted. I'm just following the thread in GitLab about the proxy for NuGet, because in the company that I've been working, I'm gonna try to put GitLab instead of GitHub there, and package manager is the great feature that we need working well to change from GitHub to GitLab. So that's why I'm here and just following you guys.
Cool. Yeah, I think our package registry offering for NuGet compares pretty closely to what GitHub has, except we have a few more options for authentication and for, I know GitHub doesn't support the package registry for NuGet for like certain types of accounts, like enterprise accounts. So be curious to get your thoughts as you start to adopt it.
Yeah, and the important thing for us is to have a centralized repository instead of like publishing NuGet patches in every single repository. You know what I mean? So I just wanna ping one address and then retrieve all the packages instead of like registering or saving all the URLs in my Visual Studio. You know, so having a proxy is a great feature for us.
Cool. Yeah, that's something that we're planning on rolling out. We'll probably start with Maven and NPM. Those are our most commonly used formats. And that what we'll do is we'll add remote and virtual. I'll link this issue in a second. We'll remote and virtual registries. So you could add an arbitrary amount of remotes and then link them all in a virtual registry with just a single URL. And then we'll add caching and compliance to that in the future. I'll forward the epic for NuGet. It takes a second to find this. Yeah, so I'm going to link the issue in the chat. We'll probably start to tackle this in like the Q1 of 2021. But this will add what you mentioned, a single URL for all your packages and caching would be the plan. Cool.
And Carlos, on issues or epics, I mean, feel free to ping any one of us at GitLab if you have any questions or comments.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Joshin, anything to add?
Sorry?
No. I was just asking Joshin if he had. You're on mute though.
Yeah, he's mute.
Just for your information, I recently added or introduced composer packages at our company, which worked quite well. I just wrote a little script which was adding or transforming actual composer tags to versions. And that worked great. I mean, my workmate's really happy now. So we could dump the other composer repository and using GitLab now, and we slowly keep on migrating the projects to GitLab only. So yeah, that worked great so far.
Nice. Do you think there's a way that we can create more awareness amongst PHP developers that this feature exists on GitLab? Because I'm noticing that we launched it, but I don't know that we really reached out to the PHP community. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, I tried to spread the word in the Typo 3 or the Typo 3 CMS community, and I got good feedback from a bunch of people, but still a lot of people just telling me, well, that feature is available on GitLab now. I wasn't aware of that. And so it just trying to, like on Twitter, like let the people know when I finished another feature for a composer and just try, to get awareness somehow.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to. I'd love to just keep targeting that, and I reached out to the composer founders or the founders of that project and trying to get them on board as well. No luck yet, but it's a long game.
Yeah, I got the feeling that they don't want to partner up at some point, or just don't want to join the conversation in general.
I think if we could get more usage, I think they'll change their tune maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Johan, I'm not sure if you're open to doing this. Would like a blog post make sense? Like your experience of, deploying this at work, and I mean, it doesn't have to be like a really long or lengthy dissertation, but like we have unfiltered blog posts that, if you want to start writing up, and Tim, you or I could like help with the edits, and we can make it pretty simple. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah. So I think that would be, I mean, I think that'll be a good asset to have with like tweets and other like a social promotions that we want to do. That's not just that it's available, but this is how it was used, and like your experience, I think would be interesting. So.
Yeah, I try to put something together and let you know.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Okay. Anything else to add, Ray?
No, this good session. We have some new contributors and like experienced contributors, so nice mix. So.
Cool. And if anything comes up during the hackathon, I'll be around if you want to ping me any questions. That's totally fine.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to ping many of you for reviews. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Great. Yeah, it was nice seeing everyone.
Yeah.
Talk to you next month. Bye.